I apologize. I'm going to be reading certain notes from my phone. You'll have to excuse me. Please understand that whether in my videos or in other videos, a lot of the stuff that we call history, stats, data, what we call facts today is stuff that was either compiled or defined or created or expressed by human beings no different to you and I. They happened to have a platform at the time. They happened to maybe write a book at the time. And over time, whatever they said, wrote, expressed out there became known as history. So whenever you hear some of these things we speak about, please always feel free to, number one, do your own research. Number two, feel free to dispute. Because for the fact that I'm reading it, it doesn't mean I created it. It means I went to go and get it from somewhere. And now I'm sharing it with you and I'm giving my thoughts and opinions. But if you feel that you can give better context, you can get better information, or it doesn't even need to be better, it can just be different, by all means, please go for it. I've been struggling with this concept of race probably since my varsity years. This would be 2004 till about 2008. Why would I struggle with race? I'd struggle with race because I was born in a township. We would move when I was 5 years old to suburbia. I'd hear murmurs and mutterings that, Nelson Mandela has been freed. We are now a liberated people. And come 1994, there'd be the first democratic elections in South Africa. I would learn as I grow up. I mean, you're a young kid. You're still trying to figure out what's going on in the world. I would learn that, okay, so there are people called black people who are deemed poor and who are segregated into townships away from the better areas called the suburbs. This was legislation. And as you get older, and by the time I got to university, I learned about British colonialism, at least in the South African context. I'd learned why I speak English in the first place, even though I understand that I was born as Umzulu, and why there'd be racist experiences. For myself, by the way, not even for other people, for myself, where I'd be called names, where people would threaten to hit me, where people would look down on me, all because I look a certain way, all because I'm deemed black. I get to university and I learn about black consciousness. I get all the names, American especially, but also African, of various leaders that would speak about the concept of white supremacy. And then in our case, we'd speak about black consciousness, the idea of loving being black. Black is beautiful. And of course, in South Africa, Stephen Bantu Biko would be the father of black consciousness. Now, from there, I became a passionate pro-black person for the first time. I thought I was just a South African, a Zulu boy, living in this country, having a good time. And I realized that being black actually meant something. Not being black also meant something. And I'd look at the oppression of black people, the story of African history, and the grab for Africa defined at the Berlin Conference. The transatlantic slave trade, of which now huge, if not maybe 50 million African Americans, or black rather Americans, that were there because their ancestors were taken as slaves overseas. Black people fighting for their rights to be seen as human in South Africa so that they have a right to vote, have a right to land that they were shifted off of just because they were black, just because they were not the descendants of Europeans who came here to colonize. Later on in my life, after being very angry as a pro-black young person saying, I need to do something for the black nation, the black community, I would reflect on my own life in retrospect. I would look at all the different role players that have led to who I am today. The black people, of course, undeniably, from my own family to our neighbors, friends, various leaders, politically, business, and in other spaces, authors, musicians, actors. Then I'd look at all the people specifically in my own life who made an impact. Now, I started off at a black creche in the township. I'd move at some point to go to a colored school in a colored area. There would be a colored area. We'd be split based on our racial breakdown. This is now from the apartheid government. Black, colored, Indian, white. White would be superior, black would be at the bottom. And this would be defined in terms of how far from suburbia you would be based. Today, the taxi industry that we have in South Africa is a direct product of apartheid spatial planning to say that black people will be far away from suburbia and the mainstream economy to a point where even in 2025, black people would have to catch taxis from the townships to get to their places of work or trains. From the colored school, Chelmsford Primary in Fairley, Newcastle, I would then move to Newcastle Junior Primary, Busy Bee. It was a previously white school. I think this would be 93, 94. And it would be the first time that we'd be allowed to study alongside white kids. Short stint at a school called Arbor Park Primary in Newcastle. But what they did at Arbor Park Primary, I mean, it was still new. They were piloting, maybe in their defense. They had black classes and white classes. My mother would not stand for that, and she went to complain. She wasn't the only one. There would be a mother, her surname would be Green Thompson, who would do the same. And it would be myself, this lady, Michelle Green Thompson, and we'd be the only non-white kids in the white class. All the other black kids were in a black class. My mom was still not happy. So we moved to Newcastle Junior Primary, where we were now integrated with white children. Newcastle Senior Primary, Newcastle High. Why am I saying this? From a very early age, I was exposed to white teachers, white coaches, white friends. My best friends for a big chunk of primary school, parts of high school, were white kids. I would play rugby, where my counterparts in the township were not exposed to rugby. They would play football, soccer. I would sing in choirs where we are singing English songs, Afrikaans songs. I would learn die taal van Afrikaans. I would speak Afrikaans as a language very comfortably. And I was exposed, and I got along very fondly with my friends, my teachers, my coaches. So later on, of course, when I'm pro-black, now I have to go back and think, did these people hate me because I was black? Were they racist? Was I a sellout? Why is it that I would make a certain team or be picked to sing a certain solo? Is it because I spoke good English, good Afrikaans? Is it because there was nothing black about me except my skin color? Was I a coconut? Did I even want to be white? So in doing that, I realized, look, this is the white community. I've had lots of experiences, amazing experiences with the Indian community in Newcastle. We've got the Taiwanese community there as well. So I'd be exposed to so many different children, adults growing up. When I decided to create my own belief system of penalism, one of the things I focused and emphasized on was non-racialism. Non-racialism, what does that mean? And to this day, I'm grappling with it. I'm struggling with it. We are a highly racial, a very racially polarized, a very politically racial country. Because of the legacies of British colonialists, and then of an Afrikaner apartheid government, and then, of course, the ANC government would come in, along with other liberation movements, to come and say, black people now have a right to vote. They are now human. They should now engage in the mainstream economy and others. So I decided to do a bit of research. And in my research, I'll start with two definitions, the one being race, the other one is racism. Then I want to speak about a gentleman called Tim Wise, a white American. Race is a categorization of humans based on shared physical or social qualities into groups generally viewed as distinct within a given society. The term came into common usage during the 16th century, when it was used to refer to groups of various kinds, including those characterized by close to kinship relations. By the 17th century, the term began to refer to physical, phenotypical traits, and later to national affiliations. Modern science regards race as a social construct, an identity which is assigned based on rules made by society. While partly based on physical similarities within groups, race does not have an inherent physical or biological meaning. The concept of race is foundational to racism, the belief that humans can be divided based on the superiority of one race over another. 16th, 17th century, before that, race did not exist. It is a social construct. At a time when I discover this, it blows my mind because it's like, but I was born black. What do you mean? Everyone knows those are white people. What do you mean? One of the things I think about, a close friend and supporter of the work I do, Tunga from Namibia, speaks about it is only white people and black people that are still to this day obsessed with race. Although defined in the 16th and 17th century, it is only still in 2025 where white people and the white supremacy agenda of saying whites are the most superior race on earth, they still have that obsession. And the one group of people that is trying to fight back is black people, the black race. When you go to Asia, Asians don't call themselves yellow people. They call themselves Chinese. That's a nation. Korean. That's a nation. Japanese. That's a nation. In Korea, they even split. They don't get along, the North and the Southern Koreans. They're not like this one group of black people screaming black unity. We must fight against the whites. The Chinese will say, we will fight against America. We will fight against Europe. We will fight against whoever is oppressing, exploiting the Chinese, not the yellow. You go a bit west and you find India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan. They don't go around the world saying, we brown people, They don't. We say those are Indians. Those are Pakistan. These are nations. And even in places like India, sometimes they get split. They've got a whole range of religious beliefs, but two of the most popular are the Hindus and the Muslims. So a guy will say, I'm an Indian Muslim. I'm a Indian Hindu believer. Not I'm a brown person. You go around, I'm black. We black. They don't go around saying, we brown. It's just us. And you have to ask yourself why. Before I get to Tim Wise. Anyways, my emphasis was race is a social construct. And it says here, race does not have an inherent physical or biological meaning. We bleed the same blood. We have an ability to do the same things. Someone came and planted a seed in your mind telling you that just because you're a certain skin color, therefore you are superior or inferior. It's worse now because we've got a term called colorism. The darker skinned people within a race are deemed inferior to the lighter skinned. You can be a brown person, but if you're light-skinned brown, you are deemed of a higher class than than dark-skinned. Similar in the white community, similar in the yellow community, similar in the black community. The lighter skinned are deemed superior. That's colorism. That now is a deeper level than racism. Racism is the belief that groups of humans possess different behavioral traits corresponding to inherited attributes and can be divided based on the superiority of one race or ethnicity over another. It may also mean prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against other people because they are of a different ethnic background. Modern variants of racism are often based in social perceptions of biological differences between peoples. These views can take the form of social actions, practices, or beliefs, or political systems in which different races are ranked as inherently superior or inferior to each other based on presumed shared inheritable traits, abilities, or qualities. There have been attempts to legitimize racist beliefs through scientific means, such as scientific racism, which have been overwhelmingly shown to be unfounded. I just want to say, man, there was a time in the past where Europeans believed that Africans were not fully human. You know, we speak about Homo sapiens and Neanderthals and Homo naledi, and Europeans would come here and they would see what they call savages. Whether it was here in Africa or they'd go to the Polynesian Islands, New Zealand with the Maori, the Samoans, the Tongans, the Fijians, of course the Aborigines, the indigenous people in Australia that were almost wiped out, and in other parts of the world, but specifically Africans they saw as subhuman. They would devise scientific data stating that Africans are 3/5 human. They are on their way, like a form of evolution. If you look at them, how they look and how they live in nature, and they can climb trees and how they eat and they live amongst animals, they cannot be human. There have been attempts to legitimize racist beliefs through scientific means, which have been overwhelmingly shown to be unfounded. To this day, we speak about how many so-called black people have entered so-called white spaces and dominated those so-called civilized white humans. We obviously can use mainstream things like golf, Tiger Woods, Formula One racing, Lewis Hamilton, tennis, the Williams sisters, music, the Jackson family. We can keep going. Given a chance in a specific space, could be swimming, could be academia, could be business, it could be politics, it could be inventing, it could be whatever it is. It has been proven over and over again that this idea that a black is not human, an African is not human. You've been proven that, but these people can do exactly what we're doing. They speak English better than us. The way they calculate mathematics, which they won't tell you they got from the Egyptians, which were taken by the Greeks and then spread throughout Europe. They won't tell you about the universities in Northern Africa, the great empire of Kemet, and how there was research but weirdly, all of us somehow sort of agree that life started in Africa. All of us. The people that believe in Adam and Eve and Christianity, other people that are like, well, science says that we all originated in Africa. This was the Garden of Eden. Then at which point did you start believing that Africans were sub whatever you are if we're all from here? What does that actually mean? In terms of political systems, for example, apartheid in South Africa, that support the expression of prejudice or aversion in discriminatory practices or laws. Racist ideology may include associated social aspects such as nativism, xenophobia, otherness, segregation, hierarchical ranking, and supremacism. I spoke about colorism. Now we have xenophobia, where even on the African continent, as an example, other Africans look down on each other. And in South Africa in particular, we can debate this. South Africans look at people from Ghana and Nigeria as if they look more like apes. The same South Africans would look at people from Fiji as if they look like monkeys or baboons. To speak of the psychological damage of what this so-called race theory and racism theory has done to people. If you're darker skinned, you can't be sitting at the table with the noblemen and the elite. If you're from another country and you speak another language and your head is shaped in a different way, your body's shaped in a different way, you have a different texture in terms of how you speak. Therefore, we define whether you are inferior or superior. Someone on the African continent speaks what we call broken English, maybe because they come from one of the Francophone countries. We laugh at them. Look at them, they can't speak proper English. A white European from France, a white European from Russia, from Germany, comes here, they speak broken English. We don't laugh at them. They're sophisticated. They're trying. Psychological damage that has been implemented in so many of us, including myself, that we need to get out of. Because it is not building us, it's not helping us. And more than anything, it is used by political leaders to keep us divided. It is so much easier to rule a people divided than a people united. They are too big, they're too strong. How do you fight against China? 1.4 whatever billion people. You have to split them. You have to convince the northern Chinese that the southern Chinese think they're better. You have to convince the western Chinese that the eastern Chinese are constantly stealing their IP. In South Africa, we've got something called tribalism. Forget xenophobia and Afrophobia. Where AmaZulu look down on AmaXhosa, hey, bakhohlakele AmaXhosa. These Xhosa guys are cunning and manipulative. Watch out for them. And AmaXhosa similarly told, hey, AmaZulu, amamenemene. These guys are messed up. Check them out. They think they're superior, these Shaga people. And they're barbaric. They love violence. Hey, AmaZulu, thanda udlame. Hey, AmaPedi, AmaTsonga, AmaShangane. We call them derogatory names. Because of this psychological seed that has been planted. Who planted it? Certain people that found value in it. Tim Wise, if you ever go look him up, has got a lecture. I'm not sure at which institution he was speaking at. But he tells a story of how race was created, again in the 16th and 17th century. And his narrative is that it was created because the elite in Europe realized that these peasants are going to revolt and want to overthrow us. So we're going to have to create an enemy for them. So what they did is they convinced these peasants that they were ruling over. And Europe was not a walk in the park. The wars and the conflicts in Europe, never mind what we're seeing with Russia and Ukraine today, never mind in recent history, World War I and World War II, there have been conflicts and wars in Europe over territory for so long. That's why they ended up moving and wandering to other nations to go and look for places to settle. Because they were fighting over limited land and resources. So the elite, the clergymen, the noblemen were like, hey, we've got a problem here. They were like, do you know who the problem is? To be honest, the black and the brown people and the yellow people, they're coming. They want your jobs. Does that sound familiar? They want your land. They want your resources. Are you going to let them come take your stuff? No. So we need to do something. And in doing that, they devise race. You guys, you're like us. We're all white, suffering. Look at them, black, brown, yellow. They want your stuff. Fight against them. And in that way, they tricked peasants, poor, struggling white Europeans to start seeing enemies in Africans, in Asians, and in other people from other parts of the world. To this day, we have that. To this day, we speak about immigrants. And if you look at the American story, it's so funny. The majority of white people in America today are all not indigenously native. They came from Europe. Christopher Columbus from Spain, going there on an expedition, trying to find a new route to Asia. They would settle, they would call other people, and they would almost wipe out the natives on that land. What we call Red Indians or Native Indians or Native Americans today. Just like the Aborigines in Australia, who were also almost wiped out by the British, they are a serious minority there. The Irish went there. The Italians, we see the mafia movies. And by the way, the Italians themselves were discriminated against and seen as dirt amongst the same Europeans in America. They couldn't get the jobs, which is why they went into crime. The mafias, the drugs, the killings. Similar stories would happen when Nigerians travel around the world. They can't get jobs. They're seen as immigrants and it's dirty. So they go into these crimes. It's history repeating itself. Now the Italians, the Irish, the Spanish, the British are all there. By the way, if you look at America, some of the big cities, they are still have Spanish names. Los Angeles, San Francisco. Those are Spanish names because it was Spanish conquest. Those people now today come together under white. And the issue is the African Americans. They're so violent, the African Americans. How did they get there? You guys brought them in as slaves. You oppressed them, you beat them, you killed them. They were picking cotton. They didn't come there voluntarily. And then today you speak about immigrants from Mexico, indigenous peoples. They want to come into our country. We must build a wall. How dare you? But it's this political, capitalist, financial elite that will convince a poor white American that a poor Mexican, a poor Puerto Rican, a poor African or Black American is the enemy. Not the rich white billionaire who's hoarding all the money, who's exploiting labor laws, who's ensuring that they are struggling, they have to work 3 jobs just to pay rent. We bring it to South Africa and a similar thing is happening. You had the elite, the British elite, that convinced the ordinary middle-class British people that the problem were black people, and then at some point they even said the Afrikaners. The Afrikaners would be so angry about that. They were put in concentration camps by the British. They would fight in a huge war called the Anglo-Boer War. Anglo for English, Boer, the Boer, the Afrikaners. They would fight against each other because the Boers were like, you guys see us as substandard. We are not. We're European like you, but we also want to be seen as human. All you see us as good for is being dirty on the farms. And they eventually would take over in the National Party. When they take over, similar thing happens. They convince their white Afrikaners about swart gevaar, black danger. It's these black people that are a problem. We need to shove them off the land. They mustn't come into your schools, Bella Act. They mustn't come speak their languages. They're going to steal our language of Afrikaans. Afrikaans is not a language that came from Europe. It's a language that was created in the Cape. The indigenous black people in the Cape would engage with people that would come as a midway to Asia, to China and India for silk and spices. And the indigenous people, they would speak with the Dutch and the Flemish and the German and the French at that halfway house. And they would create their own mix masala curry language, which today we call Afrikaans. And then a group of white people would say, but this is our language, ek is 'n Afrikaner, which actually means African. And they would convince poor white Afrikaners that the problem is these people at the bottom, not the rich white Afrikaners who at the time colluded with the rich British people to stay rich. You fast forward to today, those same people convinced a handful of black political elite to come and join them in those ranks and say, listen, we've got a model that works. The British did it. The Afrikaners did it. It's your turn now. All we have to do is convince these people that the problem here is race. But you, black man, you Afrikaans man, you British man, we're all going to live in the same suburbs. Our children are all going to go to the same schools. We're all going to have the same wealth. We're all going to go to the same golf club or the country club. We're going to get along. But to preserve our wealth, we need to constantly, these ants, these white ants and black ants and brown ants and yellow ants, we must get them to fight with each other. We must shake the jar. Every time they look like they're coming together, remind them, but black people are taking your jobs. Look at BE. That's a rich white person telling a poor white person that the problem is a poor black person, when this rich white person has colluded with a black politician to benefit from BE together. They're both rich, but they've convinced the poor white person that the problem is the poor black person. And the poor black person has been convinced by the politician who's rich that the problem is these poor white people that are racist. They don't want to give back land. A lot of them don't have land. Who has land? It's the rich white people who are sharing that land with the rich black people. The poor white person is paying rent. The poor white person has got a bond. The poor white person is working on a small plot trying to build a little farm. But he believes that his issue is this poor black person in a shack, in an RDP house, in the township. That's the enemy. It's not the rich black and the rich white. I realize that we've been hoodwinked, and it works. It's brilliant. It's like the concept of a nation. I walk 10 meters from South Africa into Lesotho, from South Africa into Eswatini, from South Africa into Zimbabwe, from South Africa into Botswana, from South Africa into Namibia, from South Africa into, I think I mentioned Lesotho, Mozambique. I walk. Right after walking, there's others. You are not our people. You are immigrants. You are foreigners. You're coming to take our jobs. You're criminals. And we've created this concept in our minds that these are not our people. We hate them. The problem is the Zimbabweans. It's not the rich white people that settled here, shifted you off your land, exploited your people, killed your people, raped your people. And it's not the black politicians they're colluding with that they've shared their wealth with. The problem is the poor Zimbabwean who had to cross a river, struggling to come and make a bit of life a few meters. It's the Sotho man. It's the Tswana woman. They're the problem. These poor people, not rich. We're not speaking rich people from Botswana, Mozambique, or Namibia that come here in a private jet. We're speaking about they the problem. Not your politicians who haven't built borders. Not the rich business people who hire the same people. The problem is the people. Because in the decision to grab pieces of Africa and demarcate it, Francophone countries, Gabon, Burkina Faso, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast, and others, Anglo nations, your South Africa, your Zambia, your Ghana, Nigeria, and others, and then Portugal would take Mozambique, Angola, others. There'd be a few others as well. We now play that game. Country is not real. It's a social construct. You can change it. You can change it and say, Lesotho is now a province. Lesotho is now part of us. Eswatini is now part of us, if you so wish. These are our people. What does non-racialism mean? A lot of people are like, what do you mean you're non-racialist? You're so stupid, Penwell. White people have convinced you and what, you're a sellout. Non-racialism does not mean that you do not see race, number one. You definitely see it. As much as it's a social construct, you can see that that's what's defined as a white person. That's what's defined as a yellow person or a brown person and a black. I can see it here. I can see the texture of their hair, the shape of their nose. I can hear when they speak other languages. Okay. You're not oblivious to it. Non-racialism doesn't mean that you treat everyone the same. Contrary. It's actually ensuring that you don't. Non-racialism doesn't discount history. It doesn't say because I'm a non-racialist, I don't care about apartheid. I don't care about British colonialism. I don't care about white supremacy. I fully can, I'm fully aware. And those things must be fought against and dismantled. And where we can fix certain things, we must fix them. But you're non-racialist, 100%. It's exactly because I'm a non-racialist that we must fix them. What non-racialism prescribes, to me, maybe other people can define it in their own way, is to say, I will not judge you by the color of your skin. I will judge you on your values, on your character, on how you carry yourself, on how you treat me. The fact that you are black, Zulu even, but you are responsible for the mass murder of my family. You have raped women in our community. You have been looting resources meant for the people. You beat up people. You sell drugs to little children. I cannot, just because you're black and happen to maybe share cultural identity of Zulu, you are my people. And I must hate this white man who wakes up with me every morning, catches a train to go and work in the same mine shaft. And we share a sandwich. And he shows me pictures of his children and I show him pictures of my children. And then tomorrow when we make a bit of money, we both move to the same place. And that person shares information that will help me improve my life. And when I'm hungry, they share their food. And when something happens to me or I need to go somewhere, they're like, hey, bring your children, I'll take care of them. I must hate that person because we have a different skin color, but I must love this monster here. Non-racialism says your skin color is not enough. I need more. Does this now discount stereotypes and groups? 100% not. I'm fully aware that most people are still prisoners of racial dynamics and racial psychology. Even when they try to be understanding, they still lean towards their conditioning, myself included. There are times when I listen to white people and I find my ears getting hot and I get inflamed. And I'm like, Nelson Mandela was a sellout and Abo Chrisani should have done something with umkhonto wesizwe. Labelungu bayadelela. I'm normal. But then I have to, in that anger, be like, it's not all white people. It is specific white racists who look down on and who talk shit to black people, brown people, yellow people. And I need to isolate the rot. Because if I buy into this, I'm going to be fighting the wrong people. If anything, I need to save them. They are prisoners. They cannot see their own brothers and sisters because they are clouded by race theory. I really, really want to work with you, my man, but the only problem is you're black. Really? Everything about me, the language we speak, the church we go to, where we work, the sports we're into, the music we listen, everything is aligned except our skin color, and you're telling me that's why we can't be brothers and sisters. But that person that's oppressing us, me and you, that corrupt politician, that's your people. Because you share skin color. It's going to take a while, and I know in my lifetime I've accepted that it's not going to change. Racism is going to burn bright until I die. Until I die. But I need to try and be the change I want to see in the world. Michael Jackson speaks about the man in the mirror. And if I want to move the world in a better direction, it needs to start with me, and I need to try and plant a different seed in as many minds as possible. I need to try and remove this virus of race classification in as many people as possible. In one of my favorite series on Netflix called Black Mirror, there's an episode, I think it's called Man Against Fire, something like that, where soldiers, just a quick summary, soldiers are given an implant within, which affects their sense of smell, their eyesight, I think their hearing as well. These soldiers are sent out to go and kill monsters. There are monsters that are terrorizing communities, and the soldiers are sent out to kill monsters. The protagonist in that episode is a black gentleman, soldier, and his chip starts malfunctioning. He gets to one of these communities, and one of the monsters they're supposed to kill looks human to him and sounds like a human being. He's like, why are you killing this person? And the soldier next to him is like, but this is a monster. He's like, no, this is a human being. What do you mean? He goes to go and see a specialist, and they figure out that his chip is malfunctioned. And when he asks, what's going on? The scientist or the head of that division explains, we used to send soldiers to go and kill, we come up with these terms today, terrorists, insurgents, immigrants, dirty. We used to send soldiers out there, but it got to a point where the soldiers would get to know these people and they'd start developing a consciousness. You're sent to Iraq, to Afghanistan, the Russians and the Ukrainians, Palestinians and Israelis, the Zulus and the Xhosas, the Hutus and the Tutsis, the Mexicans and the Americans. You meet some of these people and you realize, but these are normal human beings like us. This Nigerian gent is just trying to be a good father like me. He's just trying to provide for his family. Like, he's scared like me. When we walk, he's like, hey, did you hear that, brother? Like, he's angry that his child was failed at school. He's stressed that his woman is calling him name. Like, bro, we're the same, me and you. So they decided to create a chip which would identify that this is a Mexican, this is a Zimbabwean, this is a Ukrainian, this is a Palestinian. And this chip will make, when you see them, they look like monsters. When you shoot them and kill them, the blood changes color so that it looks maybe green instead of red. And when they're trying to speak to you, the sound gets muffled and it sounds like screaming and screeching so that it's easy to kill them. And you can't smell that they smell like a human being. What a brilliant episode. And in that episode, I was like, the way we live in the world today, you don't even need that chip. Because it's enough for someone to be like, hey, did you know that he's Ghanaian? Oh, that guy is from Cuba. Ugh, I don't like them. Did you hear he's from a township? It's a white person speaking to an uppity black person. Apparently he's from the township. So I know you're not like them. Not like them who? not like the dirty township people. The stereotypes exist. We need to be very careful of them. I need to, of course, when I see the stereotypes, be fully aware of I'm engaging a so-called white person. I need to be on my guard and be like, look, chances are, high probability they will behave like a typical white person. But I need to give them the grace and the chance to show me their character. To say, let me hear you out. Let me hear what you're about. What do you think of this? What are your values? And then from there, maybe we can build. How far we're going to get, I don't know. Politicians thrive on racial priming. If it's not tribalist and cultural priming, they thrive on it. It works. It's divide and conquer, and it's how you amass a following. For us non-racialists, we are a minuscule minority. We're not even noticeable. And it's difficult. And I'm going to try and speak out against this because, again, there are poor, black, white, mixed race, colored, brown, yellow people that need to work together because they are of the same class. They have the same struggle. They may have the same values. They may even have the same religion. They need to come together to build. How do you fight race theory? Short term, I hope. You have to replace it. I don't think we can snap our fingers and be like, I no longer see race. I'm now just going to see human. What does that mean? So I think we'll need to find replacements. Income/class is one of them. So you'll be like, look, forget race. You're poor, I'm poor. Let's work to make money. You're dealing with corruption, I'm dealing with corruption. Let's try and get rid of these corrupt people. Could be religion. You're Christian, I'm Christian. You're Muslim, I'm Muslim. You're Jewish, I'm Jewish. Let's come together and build. You're one country. Hey, South African. Hey, Poker, South African. You're my man. Let's fight against these other people that are coming into a space to come and take things from our people. Where are you from? Newcastle? Hey, I'm from Newcastle. Hey, bro, we must fix what's going on with our home. 100%. You see this in sports teams. You'll never walk alone. In Liverpool. You'll see it with Barcelona, Real Madrid. Guys will hold a badge. They'll sing side by side. The Springboks, the New Zealand All Blacks. It's easy in sports. You'll see it when it's Formula One racing. You'll see it when people are competing in terms of or debating over car brands, German brands, the Chinese brands that are coming up now. You'll see it. There's allegiances here, there, wherever. But then in some of the things that really, really, really matter, all of a sudden things like race come back. All of a sudden. And you need to fight it. We need to fight it. I'll end it there.